Okay, let's take a look at one of the dangers from this position. Very, very common. Anytime I take my De La Riva hook that's behind his knee and I shoot it across to his opposite hip, that's why I need to have the other foot come into play immediately to control his ability to sit backwards over my leg. Number one, if you look at this being extended like that, he can sit back and there's a knee bar very easily. The other thing is he can sit into a position to get a cross face on me and work his foot out to pass. What I need to do is, if his timing is better and I miss my second foot somehow, or he was like kind of baiting me into the technique, I also do need to have a backup plan there, which is essentially going to be making sure I can recover my leg and roll him and get on top again in the transition. You have to train this so that it can be done without thought. So from here, let's break this down real quick. I'm just going to move it at a different angle. So in this position, I turned and I shot this, but before I got this, Mike's already sitting backwards. What I'm going to do from here is a couple things simultaneously. Number one, I'm reaching up high and grabbing the back of his collar, or if it were no-gi, I'd just be grabbing his trap. Now at the same time, as Mike's landing in position, I'm already bringing my knees up and scooping my arm underneath his thigh from here. And then you'll also notice what I'm doing, even if he's starting to, say, attack my leg, is I'm going to hook this one under. Now from here, I'm just lifting and bringing this up all the way here. So even if Mike had my leg, he's trying to extend it, but I'm coming up with all my weight on top of him and I'm have his knees opened up. Do that one time all the way through. Okay, from here, a lot of times I may have the collar grip and I don't like the good arm position Mike has inside here. He's about ready to pop that off and he's got good inside position. I feel like he's going to completely stuff my leg. So what I can do from here is just transition my grip to his sleeve. Now I'm going to do a kick past his body as I pull. So two opposing forces. Kick, bring this back in, and now I've got great position to start to go for the far sleeve game. Okay, now in this situation, I have this. I want to make sure that there's stretching going on here. So I'm already standing on Mike's thigh. What I'm going to be doing is pulling so that he can't pummel this arm back, retract his elbow to his rib cage, and then start to work my foot off. So from here, I always want to have that stretch. And I keep my foot on his thigh the entire time as I do this. This is one of the things people will let that go. Now I'm going to sit up. Okay, so from here, I pull to do that. But my right foot will, you see, will stay on his left thigh. So from here, I kick my leg down and I sit up. Now a lot of times this feels awkward for people, but that's because my angle I'm kind of running in, so notice I'm on my elbow. All I'm going to do from here is scoop my hip back just about an inch, and now you see I can sit all the way up. That's the transition that will make this feel much easier. So it's not that you're too weak or you can't do it flexibility-wise, it's just going from here, can't really sit up, to just scooting my hip back just a little bit, and now I sit all the way up. Foot stays on Mike. Okay? And in terms of leg length, again, if you do this correctly, Mike's got 6 inches of height on me, I can still keep this pressure. So now I'm going to switch to a pistol grip with my arm underneath. This will go back to one of the techniques we did from the combat base. And a lot of times from here, people will come up and grab this lapel, and then they'll drop him into that space for the sweep. One of the things I find is sometimes guys who have a great base, even this will be difficult. So from here, this will always work. I'm going to come in and grab Mike's tricep, and now watch. Try and keep your base. I simply flare his arm out slightly, and now I go, bring him down nice and gentle because he's landing on his shoulder, and now I come up on top, all ready to start to pass. One more time all the way through. Okay, let's look at another possibility here. It's a very quick transition. Sometimes you can hit right as he tries to recover his balance from this last technique. So from here, we already did the one-legged scissor in this direction when I had the collar grip. I can really quickly transition back to that with basically a scissor sweep grip here if he starts to try and tilt this way to avoid being thrown into that space on the sweep. So I stretch out, might start to feel like he's toppling. Now as he starts to step back this way, all I'm going to do is make a quick switch from here to here. So I grab his collar, I trap this arm, and watch, I just lean this way and scissor sweep, coming right up on top. It's a great surprise move that often will, he'll basically put himself right into that sweep. All you need to do is control those points. Okay, now from this position, let's check this out real quick. I stretch Mike out. I sit up successfully, as we did in the first technique. Make sure my angle's there. I'm going for the sweep, but what he's doing is he's trying to keep his base for as long as he can. Now he's going to take his other arm. He's trying to break that grip, so he'd be able to lawnmower that out. Now start to pass. So from here, all I'm thinking of is if I have a good grip to begin with and he's fighting for his base, this shouldn't be instantaneous. As he's going to fight that off, look, I know he'll get it, but I can at least slow him down. So now, as he goes to pull his arm out, I trap the other arm, and I just bring it in here, hug tight. Now, right to this point, I'm keeping this until the last instant. Now I'm going to dive underneath. And I dive under aggressively to get my head to the far side and just hook. Then he has no base in this direction. So from here, coming right up on top. Again, good position to start to pass. Okay, from this position, got Mike stretched out. I sit up, but before I even feed it to the other side, he doesn't want to be brought forward, so sometimes what your opponent will do is they'll start to lean back on that leg a little bit, and now you feel like you're starting to lose a little bit of contact. But what I do is I keep this sleeve, and now look real quick, I scoop my legs back and my hips back. I'm hooking, and now I just use my head to drive and bring him over. Right into passing position. Let's check that out again live. Okay, from here we already talked about what happens if Mike feels himself being pitched into this space and then he kind of takes a little wobbling step away from it. He starts to lean the other direction. I can just switch into that scissor sweep and take him over. Sometimes though he'll be a little more deliberate where he's stepping back with good base, trying to circle away from this foot. It's very common. It's probably what he should be doing if he's that deep into it. So he'll start to go that way. So from here I stretch, I sit up. Now as Mike starts to go back, okay, I feel start to cycle away. All I'm going to do is scoop my hip a little bit further back and once again insert my hook right at the moment I take my foot off of his thigh. Now I've got the cross shin position again. You see it in here. We go right back to where we were in combat base. So I've got this position. Now this is excellent for me. I can start to feed this in. So taking a look at that one more time. So I push away as I come up. Mike starts to circle away, and there's going to come a point where I feel like I'm losing that foot. Okay, so first option from here is right as I take my foot off, I come back to the cross shin. I'm going to talk more about the cross shin series once he's standing. But for right now, many of the same opportunities that we had from the knee up or combat base position. The other thing that will happen from here, as I start to lose that foot, from here stepping back, is I can also just do a leg drag. Come back this way just a little bit. So I'm always keeping him stretched on this side, and right as I feel my foot's about to lose contact, I come up here and I'm immediately bringing my hand here, and now watch. Right as my foot comes off, I scoop this way and hook. Now I'm into being able to have a path to his back. He's not going to be able to drive me down with his knee, flatten me out. So right from here I could stand up for the single again, as we talked about before, or a lot of times right from here I just start to lean in and I block right from down at my knees, and I can come in and buckle him to come up on top. Nice reversal. Okay, from this position now let's go to the near side grip. And I might have this in transition earlier. Say I'm playing more of a traditional game. I switch, come all the way into De La Riva. Or it could just be that I was playing On the other side, maybe Mike pulls his arm back, and I just switch it to here because his grip is accessible to me. Okay, any number of different ways that you might transition there. Now from here, again, the great thing about having this side is that it gives me a nice path to his back. So again, I'm going to take that same principle we talked about before to shoot this hook to his far hip, but instead of bringing my other hook behind his knee this time, which is also a possibility from here, this time I'm going to throw my hook around and hook in here so I can take his back. So from here, shoot. Notice I turn onto my hip to get that angle to do it. And now immediately, as soon as my foot lands on his far thigh or hip, now I'm immediately taking this one and bringing it over and getting it behind his near side knee. So I hook. One thing too is you can certainly come underneath his arm, but a nice detail here is if I have this, sometimes I'll really just take his arm out of play, really mess with his base by coming in and trapping his arm too. Now once I get here, I'm just going to scoop myself in, grab his belt, I load his hips over my hips, and kick him out. And as I'm sitting up here, I lock on a nice harness position, and now I'm ready to come in with my hooks for the back attack. All right, another great position in here once I've kind of shucked Mike to the side. This is the same sweep we saw from Combat Base. It's also available here. And the key is if I have his whole body facing this way, I've always got a path. When his knees are facing away from me at a diagonal, I've got a path to the back. Okay, so right now is no different. I'm going to do that same simple spin to bring myself into half guard top with the sweep. Now I have to make sure as I do this, again, that I'm not going to kick this leg up prematurely and give him a knee bar, but also that his far leg is going to be accessible to me once I bring myself to it. So from here, I pull Mike off balance this way a little bit. Now watch, I'm going to shoot to grip his far pant leg. As soon as I come in, I pull, I bring him up and I pass this one up over. And as soon as I come in, now I'm all set to start to pass, half guard top. Again, as soon as I land in here, I like to make sure I'm sitting down heavy on his leg and my arms are in here in position so that he's not going to counter sweep me immediately. Even as he starts to frame, I'm already in here tight onto his hips, pinching my knees together, ready to pass. So before he can even get set and recover, you're already well into your pass. All right, let's take a step back now and look at what happens if Mike stuffs my leg, I can't hit that tripod sweep. He steps up aggressively into the space. Now I'm going into what essentially is a variation of a De La Riva and an X guard, where I'm getting my legs in this position. Okay, he steps into the space. Now it looks like you're kind of vulnerable for him to smash you, but if you keep good grips and keep everything lined up properly, basically all the same routes that would be available in an X guard are available from this variant. So let's take a look real quick. So I have some sort of upper body control. Mike steps back past my foot, and we're stepping up. Now, as he comes into this position, I'm going to receive him here. So I'm pummeling my arm underneath. I come up and I'm pinching in tight and controlling at his knee because I don't want him to step over my head. Okay. So I got this nice and tight. Notice, if I can, I'm still going to have his ankle. And the control points in here are going to be my leg wrapping around his ankle here and my foot hooked in behind his pit of his knee. Okay, so now I've got this. Right as he comes into position, this is the best time to sweep. So from here, all I'm going to do is push with my thighs, knock it back, and coming right up into a passing position. Okay, this time, what will happen sometimes is Mike will land in that position and feeling that he's pitched forward, maybe I'm trying to spread his base out, he'll lean backwards to try and counter. Okay, again, it's just start to fall one way, you overcompensate in the other direction. Now with the opportunity to bring him backwards. So let's watch how I do that. So from here he steps over, as he's coming in, come in here, now I'm immediately starting to stretch him out, and he feels like he's pitched forward, so now he leans his head back. Once I feel his weight come back over his hips, watch what I do. Just a little switch in here, I put my foot on the mat, and now I lift. And as I lift, I'm kicking that leg up, and watch, I can shoot right into here and get a nice tight position. So now I can start to go right into an under the leg pass all the way through. let's take another look. Sometimes from here, if I can't quite get the grip here, I can still stretch Mike out, and I have the opportunity to do a classic standing up in base type of movement from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is one of the best ways to really get him loaded onto one leg and take him over. It's a very easy reversal. This is great for anybody basically at any level as a fundamental applied to this position. So as Mike steps up, I hook, switch. Now, maybe sometimes from here, I can't buckle him. Now I let go, and I push away just a little bit so I can get this leg right here. So I put my foot inside his calf. I'd be keeping this tight the whole time. Now from here, I'm gonna make him have to balance on his leg a little bit. So I'm going to start to stretch it out. I put my other foot down, build a base onto my hand, constant pressure, and now watch, the last thing that will happen is I'm going to take my foot off the inside of his knee and stand. Classic standing in base. Now from here, I don't want him to turn into me and throw a triangle, so I keep my elbow in tight and I walk this way until I can come down with a good position all ready to pass. All right, so a real easy position in here once you've transitioned into the cross shin and your partner's standing is very closely related to what we did when he was down on one knee. In that case, I started to load his weight by lifting with my hook onto his knee, and I did a knee block. This time it's going to be an ankle pick. So just some preliminaries. Once I have the cross shin, I tuck my foot in. I make sure, again, there should be no space here, no separation as I go for the sweep where, number one, I lose leverage, number two, he can pummel in for an underhook. So I keep this in tight. Also beware, because he is standing, that he may try and snap your head into a guillotine. So usually from here, I'm really hand fighting with this hand, and I'm upright with my back, so I can feel it if he goes to try and snap my head in, and I can kind of fight that a little bit, okay, because that can come on very quickly. So from here, the other thing, most important, is really not to wait. So when I'm in here, I go to my shoulder, I'm just going to start to lift him right away. So if I don't have a grip, say taking away a post, I just go. And as soon as he starts to load onto that ankle, I'm just going to pick it and then come up onto my knees. So from here, it's incredibly easy once you get him lifted onto that one leg. And before he can even start to think about the next part, he's just having his base taken away, and you turn it right into a nice reversal. So let's take a look at the next technique in here. This one, say Mike's got grips on me, and he's got this in here. He's got my pant leg. Now I can't even tuck my leg all the way underneath, so I've got good posture. What I'm going to do is just use this like a butterfly sweep. The difference is instead of having him down on 2 knees, he's on 2 feet. So I'm going to lift with my hook. Okay, this time my hook would be not inside his thigh, but inside his shin with the cross shin position. This one I'm just going to take away his base. So I grab his sleeve and I pull in, and now watch. What I'm going to do is take my foot and put it on his instep. So from here I go, and now just lift down to my shoulder. Again, make sure you don't pull away, create space. I go to my shoulder, keeping everything spatially tight. Mike comes down from here. I at least come into good base position. Sometimes right as he's landing, I can come pop right into a full pass. Okay, the next one's cycling back to the same technique we've seen a variation of a couple times. Both from the De La Riva standing position, also from combat base. So again, from here, I've got the hook, and if I dive underneath, I can use the cross shin to elevate him, go into a sweep. So the time when I'm going to do this is as he's starting to advance his hips, try and step into this space. So maybe I'm keeping him away. Right. You're going to rip that arm up and then step in. Okay, so hold on. Okay, the next one is going to be a sweep that we've seen a couple times already, both from combat base and also from standing with the De La Riva. When I have the crossed shin position, I can use this as a hook sweep and dive underneath to elevate him over. Okay, this is going to be happening when I get some sort of forward pressure. So maybe I'm keeping this away from me. Now, before I can start to elevate him, he rips that arm up, but he's going to step into that space. So from here, look, I'm diving my head all the way underneath and spinning to the other hip. Lift, come right through into a great passing position.
cross shin position is also a great way to enter into a traditional X guard. We've already gone into the variation where I'm in this position. Now, more traditional X guard is great. You don't have to be an X guard player or a deep half guard player and play that entire game to be able to get into an X guard and turn it immediately into a very high percentage sweep, which is going to again be that stretch your partner out and go for that standing up and base. So that one doesn't require much in terms of physical attributes, flexibility, but this is a great entry to it because it will get his base spread out for you so you can work into that position. Let's take a look. From here you have cross shin. So what I'm going to do is start my motion to get Mike pitched in this direction, and as soon as he stutters out with his far leg to keep his base, I just swing my head towards that leg and underhook it, and then my feet will come into position. So from here, let's take a look. I lift. Now right from here as he's getting his base, look, I bring my head towards his knee, I've got my grip, and my feet just get into position. So this one comes up, insteps on the hip, this one is nice and tight behind his knee, and now I just finalize. So from here, load him up like this. So if Mike stands up so you can see the position, good, just here. This is traditional X guard. A lot of people have seen this before. So my hand is just inside the muscle of the knee, my head's tight, I don't want him to be able to step over, and now from here, my feet are up in position. I might automatically go for a grip on his ankle here, or I may just start to stretch him out. In this case, what I'm looking for is to immediately stretch him out. So as soon as I dive in here, I push hard with my legs. Now see, he's all thinking about his base. Now I take the foot that was behind his knee and I put it on the calf, and the other one comes down, just like we saw before from the reverse De La Riva X guard position. Now the last thing that I'll bring off of his calf will be the foot. As I stand back in good base, I circle, coming down in here. If I can, a lot of times, that hook underneath his leg will be a nice under the leg pass, and I can come right fully into a pass right off of the sweep. Let's look at this again from another angle just to get another perspective. And again, the key I want to illustrate in here is when you go for this, not to wait too long before you pull the trigger. That's one of the big things that gave me a problem for a while when I knew all the routes, but I would wait here too long and he's getting his base, settling his base in, and he's starting to get grips, and then he'll start to break me down. So from here, as soon as I get this position, I make sure my posture's good so I'm not giving up anything, again, like a guillotine or creating too much slack in here so he can re-pummel and slide through with his knee. But as soon as I have my nice tight position, I'm going for it. So unbalance him, I'm going to come here, spin right in. Okay, here, stretch it out, and step. Ready to pass. Okay, for the next technique, you see how Mike kind of pitches forward like that. So even if I didn't catch the ankle, what I will do when I see his weight go onto that hand is I'm going to reach down and grab it if it's close enough, and I pull it towards me, and now watch. Just give a push away with my legs in that direction, and I come right up into a nice knee ride position, completing the sweep. Okay, so when he leans that way, I take away the post, just let him fall into that direction. Good, now from here, let's say Mike, again, he's falling backwards, or maybe I fish for a grip, but he comes back like this, okay, or he's falling forward, now he comes back. So as he does this, what I'm looking for is to immediately intercept, and I grab here. Notice how I still make sure my head is in tight so he doesn't all of a sudden step over my leg. Now, very, very easy from here for me to scoop my hips into this space, and now I just turn that into the same sweep we talked about before, all the way for the pass. All right, now let's take a look real quick at what happens. This is kind of a safe position. If Mike does manage in the transition, once I'm here, he shouldn't be able to do this. But if in the transition, he does manage to step over my head. Okay, so from here, steps. Now what I'm going to do is immediately catch here and still keep my hooks momentarily because I know he wants to turn back into me. Okay, so what I want to do is just slow everything down. So if he starts to go towards my legs to sit back into me, okay, what I do is I catch, now I feed, and I've got his back. If he starts to run away from me, I just come up on top, making sure that I have a shin across the back of his calf so he can't roll into a leg lock, and I can start to climb up his back and attack. And from here, if he starts to come backwards into me, then I can go and sit him into that same position we showed before. Okay, so again, this time Mike steps over my head, catch. Now he starts to turn this way. That's always a problem for him because he's exposing his back. So what I like to do here, this again is why my legs are in place to slow him down. As he starts to turn towards me, okay, go ahead. I just pitch this in here and I catch. So I basically get a half guard on him very quickly and I curl my legs back and now I come around and grab. So Mike, keep trying to turn. That's it. Very, very difficult for him to do that. And now I can come all the way up onto his back with great control.